I hear that. There's always that awkward pause while you wait for people to join. You don't want to get
I don't know
quick.
if you can see this, Rachel, but there are 40 people in the.
Thank you. Yep, here we go. Morning, everyone. We're just going to wait a couple minutes and let everyone be admitted to the meeting today. Yeah, we actually have quite a few people that view it later. Like in Idaho, we have there's a conflicting meeting that just was scheduled yesterday for one of our grants, our big grants in Idaho. And I'm like, oh, great. So we probably won't have any of our folks from Idaho here. How are we doing? We're up to, yeah, it looks like it paused a little bit. So I'll get this party started. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our, let me see, September, October, November, our 5th webinar of PNACAC's College Counseling 101 series for the year 24-25. I'm so glad those of you it looks like a pretty good group have joined us this morning. So thank you for spending some time with us. Just really quickly, I know that with your jobs in high schools, I know we have some partners from colleges that are attending as well. You might get pulled away, but please know just really quickly that this is recorded and will be sent out. The full recording will be sent out in the next couple days. So no worries there if you get pulled aside. My name is Raelyn Peppley. I am a college career counselor in Meridian, Idaho, which if you don't know where Meridian is, it's right next to Boise. I'm at Owyhee High School, which you probably haven't heard of because we are fairly new. We're in our 4th year, just in a really growing area of Idaho. So wouldn't be a high school you've heard of. And so I'm one half of PNACAC's Professional Development Committee. My co-chair is Brittany Smith, but she isn't here today. She's with the University of Montana and she's in the admissions office. And I think she's probably traveling. She travels a lot, so she won't be able to join us today, but
just say that Brittany is here.
Oh, Brittany's here. Brittany is here. Brittany, we can't see her to wave, but Brittany is here. Thanks, Martha, for letting me know. Sorry, Brittany, you're wonderful. Yeah, so Brittany's here and she might pipe in at some point, but the person you just heard is Martha. Martha Wilson is our PNACAC Tech Chair. And so she really is the brains behind this whole thing, is what I like to say. Martha's amazing and she's behind the scenes helping us with any tech issues, but also the brains of our group. And she's with the University of Puget Sound, where there is no rain today, I heard, which is amazing. So today we are exploring concurrent, as we call it in Idaho, concurrent credit. We're also talking dual credit. You've probably heard that term as well. It's interchangeable, depends on the state you live in and the college you're working with. But this is a topic that you guys probably noticed. It was kind of, we punted because we switched gears in December and changed our topic to this, which I'm very grateful to have our 2 speakers today because it's something that I work with every single day and it grows and grows and grows and grows. And I'm sure that's why the rest of you are here, because your states, it's happening in your states as well. So our 2 presenters are going to talk to us about, they're going to share their experience working at a community college and just kind of what they're seeing. And they have some tips and tricks for us and also some case studies, which I said I was very grateful for. Before I introduce them, I just a couple of housekeeping items. Again, we're recording this, so don't worry about if you get pulled away. Please put your questions in chat, but we probably won't answer them till the end just to see if your question gets answered as we go through this presentation. And then what else was I going to? I think that was actually it. So let me introduce our presenters. I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess anything up. But first presenter is Raelyn Horton. And her bio is, so she began her career as an elementary teacher and discovered her passion is truly in higher ed. Thanks, Raelyn. She's been working in higher ed for about 5 years in various positions, but is currently a GED math instructor and a transitional specialist for high school partners for Rogue Community College in Grants Pass, Oregon. And then we have Rachel Ostroskie. Ostroskie. Sorry, Rachel. She's the assistant director for high school partnerships at Rogue Community College. And she's been working at Rogue for almost 10 years in many different departments, such as admissions and recruitment, GED, applied tech, advising and counseling, disability services, STEP, and testing services. That's a lot. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, so we're excited to have you guys with us today. Thank you for answering the call to present to us, and I'll turn it over to you now.
Great, thank you. I was gonna say, I know that was a long list for Rachel, but I don't think I even got them all, so there's probably more on there. Good morning, everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you. This is my first webinar that I've led. So, you know, you guys are just gonna be so nice and patient with me, right? I do teach math on Zoom, which is a really weird concept. And I've been doing it for a long time, but every once in a while I still have glitches and technical issues and whatnot. I was just telling Ray one time my screen froze and I was like mid coffee drink. So I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you, but hopefully that won't happen today. If it does, you're not allowed to take a picture of me, make me into a meme. Rachel, I'm gonna jump right in unless you want me to just get started here.
That sounds great.
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to start off by saying that in no way am I an expert in what we're going to be talking about today. This is a huge, broad subject that we're kind of going over. And, you know, I'm a little bit limited to, you know, I live in Oregon, so if you're out of state, some of this might look different to you. I'm sure you're expecting that. And that's just kind of part of the process of that kind of interstate transfer credits. So it's just kind of the way it is. But anyways, I do not consider myself an expert, but Rachel and I have been out working in high schools for a while now, and these are just some things that we've come across and that we've seen. And I just have been wanting to like shout from the rooftops lately about some of the stuff that's going on. So I want to go over kind of some experiences that we've had, but I also would really appreciate some feedback in the end, because I'm sure there are scenarios that I've never come across that you have come across. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we just talk to so many students who have so many different goals, so many different life trajectories, that there is not a one size fits all for any of this. So I would love it. I don't know of how much time I'll have to look at it right now, but I would really appreciate it if you guys would drop a little chat. I just would love to know your name and your role and where you're from. Due to time constraints, I have removed the, I was gonna ask you guys what your karaoke song would be, whether it's real or hypothetical, just for funsies. I like to ask people that, but due to time restraints, maybe we'll do that another time. So your name and role and your location, please. Just drop that in there and I'll get to it as soon as I can. I am sharing my presentation, right, Rachel? The screens look funny to me. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is kind of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is dual enrollment. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that. I'm sure a lot of you are aware and might even call it something different. There are a lot of different names for it, so we won't spend a lot of time on that. We're going to talk about some of the benefits and challenges of getting dual enrollment while you're still in high school. And I want to look at some high school and college program maps and also look at a case study. I am prepared to look at 4 case studies. Probably won't have time for that, so we'll see how it goes. This is just something I threw in there, noticings and happen upon. So I go out to high schools probably on average like 3 days a week. I'm working in our local high schools and talking to principals and the high school counselors and students. And what we're noticing is that a lot of students are just picking college credits to take off a list. Sometimes they're even like going, I want that one. And then we're finding that these credits aren't always serving them very well. So we'll get into this more, but for example, I had a student a few weeks ago who has taken 24 college credits in high school, and not one of them is applying to her degree plan. So we just keep noticing that sometimes things are coming up like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And then also sometimes students and families are paying for these credits. They're not always free. What is dual credit? Dual credit allows high school students to earn college credit before graduating high school. These can help students acclimate and transition into college and can also help students plan and prepare for future careers. Ways to earn college credit in high school. Of course, I'm coming from an Oregon perspective, so you might see maybe some different terminology or that you different than what you're used to. But what Rachel and I have been dealing with is our local high schools are offering college credits in the high school. So the students aren't even leaving. They're just going to class like normal, filling out some extra paperwork to earn the college credit for the class while they're there. Students are also taking what we call early college classes. So those are classes outside of the high school that they're either taking online or in person with a local community college, or in our case, also we have a university close by, Southern Oregon University. And sometimes these credits are counting as dual credit, even when they take them off of the high school campus. So sometimes they're still counting for high school credits and for college credits. So that's really important to remember, because then there's a little extra pressure, right? They've got to pass it for their college grade. They also might need that class to graduate high school. So it just puts a little more pressure on these kids. And then we also have AP classes where students must pass an AP exam for credits. What if I don't work with high school students? Is this information still relative to my work? I bet you can guess the answer to that. It's a big fat yes. Oh, where's my page? There we go. Lots of kids are earning college credit in high school. If you look up here on this screen, in some states, as many as 60% of high school students are taking college credits before they graduate high school. The demand for college has increased and the price has increased. So that means families, students and their families are really trying to take advantage of whatever free opportunities they can get while still in high school, free or at a reduced price. And then I also put this quote in here: experts predict that 70% of jobs will soon require some level of post-secondary education and training. So dual credit is a really good way to get students working on this, because we know, whether they know and want to admit it or not, we know that you do need to have something else on your resume other than a high school diploma to be able to make a living wage, right? So kids are really hearing a lot about this. They're hearing about it from their parents. They're hearing about it from us going to colleges. They're hearing about it from their teachers. So it's only getting bigger is what's happening. Okay, I get it. If I put it this way, the arrow turns to the left. If I put it this way, the arrow turns to the right. Got it. Okay. Here are some benefits of taking dual credit classes in high school. Obviously, saves money, saves time, saves a lot of money and a lot of time, right? We all know that a lot of those beginning core classes are the same class, whether you take it for free in a high school or at a certain rate at this school or at a more expensive rate at another school. It's the same class. So this could potentially, if a student does want to go to a more expensive college down the road, even taking a couple classes can really save them quite a bit of money. It helps to smooth the transition from high school to college. That's kind of a big one. Even my own daughter will say, oh, I have homework due tomorrow, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it next week. Because she has different expectations in high school than what we have in college. So I'm going, oh, you need to go do your homework. It's due tomorrow. But in high school, sometimes these due dates are treated very differently, and students can turn in all the work late and get the same amount of credit. So it is a big transition that they have to make. So this is a good way for them to do that with support. Excuse me. It can broaden horizons. I'm sure you guys have come across a lot of students or even just people in your life who don't see themselves as a college-bound human being. And That's okay. It's not right for everybody. But this enables students to be able to explore a little bit, to, you know, kind of dip their toe in college, maybe start to see themselves as someone who is capable of going to college. Or maybe they even explore shorter term programs and see what else is out there that isn't necessarily going to college. So Rachel and I work at a community college, so we have lots of short-term programs too, like phlebotomy, we have welding certificates, we've got all sorts of cool stuff. So kids in our area are not limited to only, it's not limited to only university bound students. Okay, this was a big one I came across. The United States Government Accountability Office reports that the average transfer student loses 43% of their transfer credits when moving to a different college or university. That's huge. That's why it's big and bold on your screen right now, because that can mean that all of our efforts into helping these students save time and money and get a good head start on their future, some of it can be lost. And that can be really disheartening. And I think working at a community college, I think sometimes it's hard for us to keep students on a good path. Some of our students really have a lot of barriers as it is to their education. So this really kills me seeing this, because this can really make or break it for someone. Especially if we're trying to get some of those students who don't see themselves as college bound to then see themselves that way, and then they end up losing almost half of what they've done. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's talk about some challenges. Even just yesterday, I ran into a friend here at the lobby and they said, how are you doing? I said, oh, great. I'm leading a webinar tomorrow on benefits and challenges of taking college credits in high school. And she said, how could there be challenges? They're free credits. I don't understand. And I said, well, there are. So my goal is just to make sure you guys are all aware of this. This might not be new information to you, but just in case. Students don't always know what they want to be when they grow up. We know this, right? Students need to transition from high school to college level work and expectations. Deciding on appropriate major based on career and school choices is a big one. I can't tell you how many times I've met with a student and I've said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say, well, I either want to be a surgeon or an architect. Or, you know, some kind of crazy, I'm like, okay, those are very different. Let's kind of try to navigate this. And then, of course, deciding which credits are going to transfer appropriately, which is really hard to do if they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. This is kind of a big one for me. Really, I'm not trying to be a downer and tell you everything in the world can go wrong if you take college credits, but there are some real tangible things that can happen that students might not even realize until years down the road. So financial aid implications. We all know that financial aid is not going to keep covering your classes forever and ever and ever. It is a finite timeline. So you can only receive federal financial aid for 150% of the number of credits or years required. So they have that little built-in wiggle room, right? If you do want to change your major, if you go through something, there is that built-in wiggle room. But if you are like my student the other day who had 24 credits that don't apply, you just lost your wiggle room, in the future. And then we have SAP policy. Here at RCC, our SAP policy is that you must pass 2/3 of your classes to remain in good standing for financial aid. And also that you must maintain a 2.0. Is that right? Okay. I'm tripping over my words over here.
And it's not necessarily passing the classes. I mean, it is passing, but a D would count. You have to complete. So it's the attempted versus completion ratio. And I think that it might be standard across the board for folks.
I looked it up and I wasn't sure if it was standard or not. Thank you. Credits may not transfer. I already shared that quote there with you guys. Grades. If students receive poor grades in college credit classes in high school, this can affect their GPA and academic standing. It is not unheard of that students will walk into Road Community College and they will be academically suspended before they ever set foot on this campus. Which is a really tough pill to swallow, and it's tough for us to tell them that. And I'm really curious at the end of this, I'd love to hear if you guys have had experiences like this too, because I'd love to broaden our knowledge on this. We're kind of in a tiny little area, so see what else is going on out there in the world. I've also seen students who really struggle to get into our nursing program because they have some random D from a welding class they took in high school that they don't want to be a welder, they want to be a nurse, and they took a class for fun and got a D, and now we're really struggling to get into a competitive nursing program. And then the Oregon Promise, and I'd love to hear if y'all have any programs like this if you're in a different state, but the Oregon Promise grant is, if students qualify for it, they get 90 credits. They get 90 free tuition credits at any community college in the state of Oregon. And the issue with that is that once you hit 90 credits, you hit that cap and you're cut off. And that does include classes that you take in high school, whether you take them outside of high school at a college, or whether you didn't even leave the classroom once and just handed your teacher a piece of paper that you wanted credit, that chips away at those 90 credits. And I tell kids all the time, it's okay either way, if you're taking it now for free, or if you're taking it on with the Oregon Promise later for free, that's still free, but it has to be the right credits. Don't take underwater basket weaving, right? Unless that's what you want to do with your life. I know this probably is really ugly to look at, and I'm really, really sorry. It's a lot, but this is just an example of kind of what we have going on here in our area. So this is from one school district, and specifically, I'm kind of zoomed into one high school here in our area. So the left side, it shows 4 different ways that students can earn college credit while in high school. And then on the right, these are classes that are offered at that high school that the students don't need to leave for. They can take these classes and get these credits completely for free. So there are a lot of options here. And I would like you to notice that this is what when I go at a high school and I look at it and I go, oh my gosh, you got credits all over the place. You have them coming from different schools and from AP exams. And counting for all sorts of different things. So we will look at this again in a little bit when we do our case study. But you can see here, these students have AP options. They have options to take credits from Southern Oregon University, which they have to pay for. And they also have options to take credits through RCC, which they don't have to pay for. And they do still get quite a substantial discount for the ones that they pay for. And then really quickly, because I do want to be cognizant of time, and I over prepared on purpose in case I went the other way and didn't have enough, but I kind of just want to look really quickly at a couple of different degree programs just so we can see how vastly different some of these are. And you probably are familiar with these. So this is the Associate of Arts Oregon Transfer. And I hope I don't make you motion sick. I'm someone who I'm like, don't scroll so fast. So some basic requirements. You need some writing, you need some communication, you need some math, some health credits, some humanities credits. You guys know all this, I'm sure. But what I want to look at is down here. These science, math, and computer science requirements. That page we were just looking at for that high school, the sciences that they had offered, they had Bio 101, Bio 102. some things like that. Those sciences would work perfectly for this degree. I can see on here lots of different 100 level science classes. So like, for example, my daughter is in high school and she's taking credits for Bio 101. My daughter wants to study film. So this is totally a good idea for her because this is a great pathway for her. But if I go back, and I'm going to click on this one, Associate of Science Transfer for Biology. Maybe I'll click on it. Okay. So this would be like if I had a student who said, I want to be a doctor. Some of this is the same. I see a little bit of writing, a little bit of social sciences. I see a little bit of, cultural literacy, some math. And when I scroll down a little bit, I start getting into these sciences. There is not one science class listed on here that is below a 200 level. So when those students are looking at those options available at their school, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to take biology, right? I'm going to take this anatomy and physiology class. Well, okay, wait, now I'm having to scroll on. I'm going to go back and show you the A&P class. Actually, I will. The A&P class that they offer is a non-cadaver A&P. It does not count as an A&P class for some of these degrees. Did you want to add something to that, Rachel?
So like the 100 level biologies to some people might make sense that that's the prereq to the 200 level biologies, but it is not. And it's different. So the SOU A&P, so that what we saw was offered through Southern Oregon University. And because they don't have cadavers in the high school, they don't get credit for anatomy and physiology. However, for us at RCC, none of our 200 level anatomy and physiology classes have a cadaver because we're not that cool. I really wish we were. I know that's crazy.
I don't know.
But they will transfer as those anatomy and physiology credits. So someone had put in the chat about working with completion counselors to look at the classes that need to be taken at the college they're transferring to. And that's so huge when we're talking to our students. Most of the colleges, we'd have it, but most major colleges have their transfer equivalencies or links to transfer equivalencies to our biggest partners on our websites. I cheat all the time. If it's not on the RCC transfer equivalency site, I go to SOU because I know, excuse me, there's more people from around the country that are going to enroll in Southern Oregon University and bring credits over. We don't have a ton of people coming over from the East Coast to try and enroll at RCC where we have no student housing. So just making sure that everybody knows there's a ton of free resources that if you just take a couple minutes, you can look that up and just know.
Thank you, John. Let's see, I really want to show you this one too. This is our nursing program here at RCC. I'm going to try to not scroll too fast. I'm sorry. But I mostly want to show you these prereqs here. There's no medical terminology required for this. There's, there are things that students think that they need to take to become a nurse. And then they look at me funny when I say, you need to take a psychology class and writing, and they go, what? Why don't I take this medical terminology class or this random class you have on infection control? And so just really deep diving into these programs with those kids. I'm kind of watching the time. You guys could always take a look. This is an engineering one for Oregon Tech. It's mostly math. I'm sure you know that, but we can look at that later if we have time. But just, of course, and I'm sure you guys know some of this already, but how do we get this message across to these kids, right? And not just the kids. The high school counselors need to know this. The teachers need to know this. We see a lot, a teacher will say, well, you're taking this class anyway, you have to take biology for high school credit, so you might as well get the college credit. Right? We hear that all the time. On paper, that sounds great. Cool. Free college credits. But it is still chipping away at those other opportunities potentially. So helping students be successful, work backwards. Right? I used to teach elementary school, but you work backwards all the time, right? What's our goal? And then we're going to try to figure out a path to that. Students don't always know what that is. And that's okay, but we can go over options and have that conversation with them. If you want to go out of state, we need to start by looking at that school out of state and what their requirements are. They need to meet with an advisor. They need to meet with not just their bio teacher who's telling them to take this class for credits. They need to meet with someone who's trained to know how this is going to work and what's going to apply. I had so my daughter took the bio class, but then I had a parent call me and say, should my kid get this college credit for Bio 101? And I said, well, what do they want to be when they grow up? Oh, well, she wants to be a chemical engineer. No, this class is super helpful for my daughter. I'm sorry, it's not gonna help your daughter. I wish it would. Choose appropriate majors to align with intended career path. Then they at least have, if we can try to pick a solid major and get them some sort of a program map to hold in their hands, something tangible to reference and to show their parents and to reference, that's going to help them make some safer choices as well. And then choose safe credits. Just because it's offered doesn't mean you should take it. I don't know how much you guys are able to partner with local high schools. We've been working really hard to work with our high schools and kind of get to know their population of students and what their students are looking for, and to really know when we sit down with these students, what is offered at that school versus what else the school will allow those students to do. We have some schools that have the funding to say, yeah, if there's a class that the student needs that we don't offer, we'll pay for them to take it somewhere else. And if not all schools have that, of course. We definitely have some smaller school districts that don't have the funding for that as well. Spend more time on that, but I'm not going to because of time. So this, oh God, I hope it's not too small for you. I'm sorry. This on the right is that same list of courses offered at a high school here in Southern Oregon. And then on the left is a transcript that a student brought to me, showing what college credits they had already taken. So I kind of want you to just take a look at it and see, okay, this student has taken Bio 101. That's really great if she wants to go be a teacher. Not helpful if she wants to be a doctor. We've got some history classes. That's great. If you want to do an AAOT, that'll fit right in. If this student wants to go be an engineer, she's not going to have this many requirements for, for humanities and for the social sciences and other things. It's going to be mostly math. And then we have, what else do we have? Some chemistry. Again, these are 100 level chemistry classes. These are not going to be helpful if the student does want to be a doctor. So what I was thinking we would do is looking at the list on the right of classes offered. I was thinking, and we have a million things in the chat, so maybe we won't even throw it in the chat. Maybe you can just write it down for yourself or think about it in your head. But let's say this student came to you and they said, I want to be a surgeon when I grow up. What classes that are offered here at my high school would you recommend me to take? And we could put, Rachel, would you maybe drop that, the program planner in chat, the one for the biology? It's an example of what was that? I'm sorry.
It's already there.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
You were so on top of it, man. So feel free to look through that and see if you see any other classes on here that would apply to that degree. You're welcome to put it in chat if you want. I don't know, we're kind of winging this part of it. So even if you just want to think about it in your head or write it down. Because this is an example of a school that does have quite a bit to offer, which is nice that the students have choices, but it's also, they have a lot of potential credits that they could be, you know, have like as a senior. Some of these kids, I don't talk to them until they're a senior, and then they have a huge list of classes they've already taken. So I guess we'll just talk about it and we'll just see if this kind of aligns with maybe what you were thinking. Yeah, some of you are putting it in chat. That's great. Someone said I would recommend to complete the psychology credit. I agree. This student might say, I think I'm going to take emergency services because I want to be a surgeon. What if I'm going to have an emergency surgery? Right? They have all kinds of ideas when they come to health careers 1. Okay, we have a health careers class down here. It's a 3-credit class. It's on exploring health careers. That's great. I guess if you don't know what you want to be, if you're dead set on wanting to be a surgeon, you don't need to take this. That's just 3 credits that you don't need, where you're going to have to go and interview someone who's a pharmacist, you know, and maybe interview someone who is a phlebotomist. If you know what you want to do, you don't need to waste your time. So not a ton of options here for someone who wants to be a surgeon, right? If this student wants to be a preschool teacher, they have a lot of options at this school for that. If this student wants to be an English major, we have quite a bit of options for that. So maybe let's look at this again from another lens. Let's say same student, same classes. What if this student now said to you, I want to get an AAOT and transfer to a university to become a writer? Okay. Can you drop the AAOT one in there?
Already did. Sorry, I jumped.
Best wingman, wing person.
I would just state that if someone told me that they wanted to get an AAOT and become a writer, I would ask them what university they're going to, because if they're going to an Oregon university, AAOT is awesome because it's an Associate of Arts Oregon transfer.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
But if they're going to go hang out with Ray over in Idaho, an AAOT probably isn't the route to go because we don't have the streamlined articulations for the transfer maps built with Idaho. And so we might say an AAOT is not the right degree for you. Might be for us, an Associate of General Studies, still with a focus in literature.
Yeah, thank you for saying
So
that.
many little things that you have to catch.
So if the AAOT was a good choice for this student, which by the way, I don't know if any of the rest of you are hearing about this in Oregon, but we seem to be getting a big push from our local school districts saying they have a lot of students they want to graduate high school and also with an AAOT. We're hearing that a lot. And we're trying to tell them the AAOT is not a one-size-fits-all program for these students. They might have a degree, but then find out that it doesn't count. So I am kind of curious, maybe when I share my Padlet in the end, maybe if you guys have any noticings about that, I'd love to hear it. But if this student was a good candidate for an AAOT. Then looking at this, they probably have a lot of options, right? Also, AAOTs have a lot of different electives built into it. You do want your electives to be aligned to, you know, if you did want to be a writer, your electives need to be more focused on, you know, on that subject. But there is a little bit of wiggle room with the electives where you don't really have that. If you want to be an engineer, you don't have that as much wiggle room with electives. I think it was like you get like 4 credits of electives, or that might not be right. I just pulled that out of nowhere, but just an example. But they could take a comm class, they could take math, they could take a foreign language. All of these science classes would count towards an AAOT, right? That student would have a lot of options. Trying to think about time. I don't know if we have time for another one. I think I was going to have you guys do like 4 of these, but I don't know if we have time. So I think what I'll do, I don't know, Ray, are you still there? Do you want us to wrap up? I do have a, oh, I have to show you my quote first. Hang on, I have to show you my quote, okay? Because I feel like I've been a little bit of a negative Nelly. I don't want you guys to think that we don't want kids doing this, because it really can be such an amazing experience for kids. And especially if you have kids who are maybe not enjoying high school, or maybe don't want to go to college, don't have any desire to do that. If you can get them even trying something and seeing what other things they might be interested in, that can be really transformative. So I don't want to be a negative Nelly. This is just about using caution. But I just wanted to share this little quote. You've probably heard it before. There's freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky, and you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly? So I just love that so much, because some of these kids really start in dual credit and really take off. So, and then we can take some questions. And I do have, if you don't mind really quick, I do have a link for a Padlet that I just want to drop in the chat, but I'd love to, if anyone wants to speak up, if you have anything to say. Am I still sharing screen? I am.
You are. Yep. Now you're
please speak up, but also if you maybe just want to, you know, quietly go add a little something to this Padlet, thoughts or questions, please feel free to drop it on there. I just put the link. I hope I did. Please tell me if that worked. And of course, Padlets, you can remain anonymous if you want to, or you're welcome to add your name and contact info, whatever you want to do on there. So yeah, that's it.
I know you couldn't hear me, but I was the whole time like, yep, nodding a lot. Yeah. So helpful information. Can we share your slides with folks who weren't able? Okay, because you had some great links in there too.
Thanks. Yeah, I have some links to some really great articles in there too, that are really worth the read. So
okay, yeah, if we could send that out with the video, that would be great. So helpful. And then is this Padlet, can we leave that open for a little? Are you replying to the Padlet, or let me go to the Padlet?
You know, it's kind of one of those things I'm figuring it out as I go, but I can leave it open. It's a Padlet. It's actually really sweet. I opened this Padlet and I deleted, you know, because I had been using it in my math class, and I used it for asking my students how they felt about math. And so that popped up again, and then it kind of was like, oh, I get to hear about all my kids in their math wars again. But it's just Padlet. We can reference it at any time.
Okay, live. Okay, so it might not be as helpful to have people reply to it later or add thoughts to it later. Is it kind of like a live? I don't know, Padlet. It's just a live.
Yeah. You know, Padlets are so cool.
I've heard of them. I've just never used one. But
here it is. So if you haven't used it before, this is the Padlet. You can just hit this plus sign. You don't have to sign in or anything. You just hit this plus sign. You can put a subject, you can type a little something, and it just kind of puts a sticky note on the page.
Okay, great, great. Well, while they're doing that, we can answer maybe some of these questions.
Something
Um,
I just wanted to share real quick, if you're at a high school and you are feeling like this is a lot,
Mhm.
please reach out to the closest college. I am in this position as assistant director for high school partnerships. We just implemented it. I started in August. It has been so huge for us to have Raelyn and myself and our other transition specialists go out and actually work with the high school counselors. We're out on the Ray said she goes about 3 times a week. We have set times that we're out in our high schools. We serve about 35 high schools here at RCC, and that it's a lot, and we only have a department of 4. But we try really hard to go out and make different connections and keep communication flowing all the time, because if you're in the high school, you are working with students that want to go to, so many other colleges, or you have so many other variables, not just working with the students about college. And for you to have to keep all of that information and be the expert on everything, like no one expects that of you. Like it's so broad and so much to hold on your shoulders. Colleges want these partnerships with high schools. We love our high school partnerships because we know that when we're out there, they're more likely to come to us afterwards, or it just opens up doors that they never thought that they would have. And so if you have the ability to reach out, we bring our advising crew out, we'll bring financial aid out, we bring admissions out, and we make it so that we're removing barriers for the students, but also trying to lift some of the weight from the high schools. Because you guys, my mom was a high school teacher. I just know how big your loads are, and I just really admire all the work you do, and just want to offer that. That's what we're all here for, is to back you up and be that support. It's a win-win for everyone. It's a lot of work, but strengthening our communities at the end of the day.
For sure. Thank you, Rachel. That I agree. The partnerships are that's vital for this. Like I wouldn't be able to do my job if I didn't have people I could reach out to at our community colleges, or even our 4 years. We have in Idaho, because I have some folks here in Idaho, they probably aren't in this too, but we have an associate degree program partnership with Boise State University. Which, like you guys, this is what I was nodding and saying earlier to you, Raelyn, that it is viewed by parents as a cost-saving measure, but the cost though for the student, I found after doing this is our 8th year of having this partnership, is that they're not mature enough to jump into a 300 level class. Many aren't mature enough, some are, but there's such a big transition time and growth that happens your first year of college, and they're missing out on that. They're jumping into a 300 and kind of expected to roll with the other 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds. That's what the professors are expecting, and they're intimidated, they're scared, they don't get the same support that they got in high school. So I'll be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of it. And I have all, yeah, go ahead, Raelyn.
I was just gonna say it is difficult, and part of what we do is we keep an eye on our high school students, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
We've got usually at least 400 a term, and it's getting better. We've got a lot of our instructors roped in now too, and they're alerting us if our high school students are needing extra support, and then we can go down and give them a metaphorical bop on the head. What are you doing? And have them come and check in with us, and sometimes make a plan. And
That's awesome.
But it's a lot of work. And what we're noticing is that a lot of these schools are pushing this, and sometimes even for freshmen. And so we of course we want you to come take classes with us, but it needs to be done the right way. So we're still really trying to take the time to sit down, make sure they know what is being expected of them. And it's not a foolproof plan. It doesn't always work, but do you have extracurricular activities? Do you have, when do you do your homework? Do you have a job? it's really a lot. And again, we are not experts on
Right.
this matter. This is just what we're seeing in it. And so just having a good discussion about it with y'all would be great.
Sure.
I
I do
have
want
a
to say really
quick
quick,
question.
oh, sorry.
Sorry. And it might be bigger, but when you talked, Raelyn, about the like parents or students are asking about how can they graduate with an AAOT, and maybe that's not a good fit. And I haven't looked into it into a long time, but I know that Washington State has what's called Running Start. And I don't know, Ray, if maybe that's
Mhm.
kind of what's like in Idaho. And I think that's a really good point that like, is an 18-year-old ready for a 300 level class? But my understanding of Running Start is that they go to the community college,
do.
so at least they're among
Mhm.
those older peers. And so I don't know if Oregon will ever go that way, but it was just like, I feel like Oregon Promise is that step after, right? A little bit to
Mhm.
encourage and help pay for, but I think there's pros and cons to both.
Mhm.
I don't know. What is your thought on Oregon maybe offering something like Running Start? Because not every high school student does it. You can still stay in school and take the dual credit, right? But there are a few that are mature and ready.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We do have one program that we have right now that's been pretty awesome. It is I'm sorry, I'm tripping on my words. So we have a school district, a very rural school district out in the outskirts of Grants Pass, Oregon, and they have 3 different schools, and they don't offer classes on Fridays at the high school, which obviously that doesn't work for all high schools, but we have partnered with them and we've designed a list of classes that are offered on our Grants Pass campus only on Fridays. You go once a week on Fridays. And we were able to arrange busing with the school districts to get the kids out there. And I know that that's not always plausible, but it is such a great experience to have those kids on campus, spending time studying in the library, and, you know, even silly things like going and getting a breakfast burrito at the cafe, but like, you know, them just being more a part of that school environment and talking to their teachers in person, because some of our other bigger schools that don't have that, these kids are just taking classes on just web-based classes, which are still the same credits, but that can feel very disconnected. So I agree. I wish I could just put them all on the campus.
Yeah, and our Friday students, we call it College Connect Fridays. We save seats for them in different sections, and we build the sections, you know, in a time that we have the busing available. But it's also Gen Pop. So they are in, once we fill our seats, we open it up for other people to register. And so they are in with their older peers. They're learning maybe it's soft skills they're learning from them too, because the person, you know, the 33-year-old single mom who's trying to get her nursing degree and giving everything she has to be successful is sharing, you know, she's an example of how you should act in class, and they pair them up. There's a lot of interaction between them. And Raelyn has done a great job of mapping out those courses. So if those students come and take the Friday classes, 1 class a term for the 2 years, or is it a year? 2 years. 2 years, then they get a certificate when they're done. So they're working towards a basic healthcare cert. We have some other ones built in there, and we have a few different disciplines. So it's not just if you're in healthcare, you get it. We have like design and digital media. We have computer classes, the psychology. So it's just thinking outside of the box on how to get the students these credits. Oregon Promise is awesome. It pays for tuition, where we can use the early college and the dual credit with the high schools. It's a really big advantage for students because they get the extra support from the high school staff. But the high schools are also covering the cost of the fees and the books and supplies. So a lot of time people will say, I don't want to do dual credit because I don't want it to take away from my 90 credits of Oregon Promise. And I get that, but it's a wash on the tuition. And it's also a benefit for the students to get those supplies and fees taken care of as well. So really, it's kind of more bang for their time when they're doing the dual credit.
So many great comments coming in. I wish I had time to just look at all of them right now, but I definitely will be taking a look at that later. And then I should put up our contact info. Yeah.
Mhm. That would be great. Thank you. That'd be great. Well, you're putting it up there. I just wanted to mention, because so many of the rest of you on this call, you're like me and you work with families who come in and ask you about dual credits. And like for me, by the way, sorry that if I sound like I badmouth BSU, because I love BSU, great partnership. And they do exactly what you were talking about, Raelyn, talking about all the other extracurriculars that could really make high school stressful for a student pursuing an associate degree. But something I found just this last year with my youngest just entered college, and he had about 40 credits going in, and we thought he had the sciences that he needed, but he switched kind of gears on his major before he entered college. Well, so he had to take a science first semester, and he was a computer science major, took geology, and geology rocked his world. He has now changed to he wants to be a geological engineer. So taking all these GEM courses while you're in high school, it also would keep you from being able to, have these experiences in colleges that might just open your eyes to a career you never even thought about, right?
Maybe
Professors are so good at that, right? So it's just something to share with parents too, to not really try to speed this up so much for their kids. There's so much growth that happens in college. But I also do, as a parent of 3 college students, understand how expensive it is. So that's
yeah, my daughter wants to go to NYU, so I'm like, let's
my goodness. Yeah.
manage of as much as we can right now.
Right. Oh man. So I don't know if we missed any questions or just so many great comments.
So many, I think. I'm sorry.
Oh man. So, well, I could see this is just such guys, just a heads up, maybe we'll do this again next year. Because it is just affecting all of us in the PNACAC, well, across the nation, but definitely it looks like in PNACAC, let's support each other. Let's get some more conversations going about how to help our families and our students. So, and I know we didn't get to all of it, and you had some great case studies, Raelyn, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to those. So I might, you guys, just so I know we just have a minute left, but I just want to mention, I'm going to send out a questionnaire at the end of all these webinars just to see, which webinars would you like to see repeated next year? I try to do something new for the 8 that we have every year, but some of these are just so just vital to our jobs that you guys just let me know. Think about it. Let me know if there's something you want to see again in the next year's webinars. So Raelyn, Ray, and Rachel, thank you so much. That was just amazing. I wish you could have seen me nodding or going, the whole time. So very great. Very great. Yeah. And Raelyn, you did a great job of talking about you weren't that negative. You're realistic. So
Okay,
appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. And thank you everyone for coming. Those of you who were able to hang out with us the whole hour. Yeah, appreciate you. And we'll see you next month for our next webinar. Thanks again.